suppose you go on shouting and screaming and you're shouting at a brick wall, which is not going to move.
Yes, I think some people believe in that. But the experience we have in Burma is very clear that the generals are not interested in genuine reform at all. And these reforms that we have seen so far, it is well planned. It is very systematic. They planned it for decades. They drafted the constitution since 1994, and then they had a referendum during Cyclone East Burma. They had a sham election in 2010, and this is from a series of dictatorships, because Burma has been ruled by a series of dictatorships since we got independence from Britain. And if you compare like Burma and Spain in the past, you had one dictator, and when the dictator died, you had some kind of democracy and some kind of freedom for the people. In Burma, because we had a committee of a series of dictatorships, after one dictator died, another dictator came out from their family, from their close associates. They have very well planned. So I think if we just, like you suggest, if we just hope that they will just change themselves and then come from within, I think it will take forever, because they are not interested in the plan for their survival, and they have some reforms mainly to get international sanctions to be lifted, because they are so scared of international image and international sanctions. That's why people like me, I still can go home in Burma. Even when the World Economic Forum organized conference in Burma, and as I'm one of the young global leaders there, and the Young Global Leaders Summit happened during the forum, and I was due to speak there, but it took a long time for the World Economic Forum to get permission from the government to allow me to speak via Skype. So yeah, you can see how genuine the reforms are taking place in Burma. And looks like the British government and the international community are confused between modernization and democratization. They think that the government in Burma is going towards democratization, but actually it is modernization. They modernize their communication system, their economic system. They have better placement for foreign investment, but in terms of freedom and democracy, we are still a long, long way to go. So Burma generals, they are thinking very long ahead. Probably they will just want to be like China or Russia, and just to get away with international pressure.
Distressing.
You've got copies of your book with you.
Yes.
Is that an autobiography, or does it set out some of the campaigns, or what does the book contain? Could you hold one up so people could see it? Are you actually selling them?
I am, yes. It is £8, and this is my autobiography. And I wrote this book because when I first started campaigning to raise awareness about the human rights in Burma, people were asking about my personal stories. And when I talked about my personal stories, and they were interested in more situation in Burma. So I wrote this book, and I want to use it as a small window so that people can look through and then see what is really going on in Burma, and then help our struggle for freedom in Burma. And many of the things in the book is my personal story, but actually it is a lot about Burma as well. For example, about the Quran.
And the campaign groups are listed at the back.
That's right.
Campaign groups are listed at the back.
Some of the stories, like when I first came in the UK, it was like a big shock for me. The first time I saw a train was here in the UK, and then I I got on a train from Norwich. I was on my way to London. I nearly ended up in Peterborough. It was so confusing.
Very easily done.
I didn't know how to use a Kindle. I didn't know how to use computer, things like that. It was very difficult. And when I tried to use washing machine and metro speaking baby clothes, it was a big challenge for me to survive in UK. Life in refugee camp was just so different from here. Yeah. So yeah, some of these are in my book as well.
So what should Britain and the British people do to help?
Yes. Yeah, you can raise awareness. You can also write to William Hague to take action, stronger action on Burma.
Well, you mean in terms of PSBI, or do you mean in terms of sanctions?
PSBI can also have a stronger position on Burma. Because once UK is getting soft, other European countries are following UK, and ASEAN, Asian countries are also following UK.
If going back to the question about investment, if the investment by global companies is at least double-edged and potentially very unhelpful, I mean, is there any way that people here can support a different kind of economic development which is helpful to the people? I mean, are there any sort of cooperatives or anything like that allowed, or anything that can be done in...
So enhance shares with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really have the kind of cooperative in Burma. Anyone who has big association, the government is quite scared. That's why we had the repressive law, which is the association law and assembly law, this kind of thing. And in terms of having investments that help the people, currently, based on the constitution and the repressive laws in Burma, with this atmosphere, the economic investment will benefit the generals, the army, the government, yeah, more than the people, because there is no clear rules and regulations that guarantee the protection for the environment and the benefit for the local people. But
we need a way to link up all the ethnic minority groups, different diverse groups. How many are there roughly?
There are maybe 8 ethnic groups. 8 ethnic groups, and all the minorities probably around 135.
135.
Yeah. And what we need in Burma is sustainable development, where it benefits everyone. At the moment, it's quite difficult to have a sustainable development.
That was what I meant really on my question, which I didn't put very well, about whether tourism would help. I imagine that tourists going to Burma would just see calm, central Burma and not see anything of the turmoil that's going on with the...
No, of course not, because tourists can only go in the touristy area. They can't go outside.
So do you recommend tourism or not for the West?
I don't have opinion actually. If people want to go, they can go.
And put money into the government's pockets?
Most of the money will end up in their business cronies and their pocket, but actually there are also few local groups that might also benefit. For example, there is a taxi company that was set up by former political prisoners to support the families of the political prisoners. So yeah, I think it was set up a while ago. I can't remember exactly.
But so far as the ethnic group's concerned, they're going to see no benefit from tourism.
Not for the ethnic.
No, it's been
Not tourists go to Burma. They went to Burma in the past, and then they even didn't know that Burma was ruled by a dictatorship.
If there's no more questions, I just want to, I think Malcolm's already said more eloquently than I would have said. It's thank you for coming and making us aware of the legalities. Give us a graphic account of what's going on in Burma. And we will, we've certainly given us a lot of food for thought, and we'll continue as the Human Association and Amnesty and many others in the district to highlight. In fact, I did write to Chris White and told him about the meeting, and he sent his apology. But he said he did write to me and said that he has been involved with the Burma campaign. I think it was a result of your previous visit to Leamington. I think there's a chap called James.
James Logan.
Yeah, that's right. He, in fact, he rang me and I've been in touch with him. And he said Chris White been quite helpful with the campaign. So we'll continue to argue it. And thank you very much indeed for coming.